Hey everyone, I'm Sarah from AWE, and today we're installing the exhaust suite for the 2018 and newer Mustang GT. In this video, we'll show you how to remove the factory exhaust. This particular Mustang is equipped with the factory active exhaust, so we'll show you how to get that off as well. Then we'll be installing the AWE system. This particular system is a Touring Edition, but if you have the Track Edition, the install is the exact same. Tools required for this install are 10, 13, 15, and 16 millimeter sockets. You may also want a small extension. You'll also need a pop clip removal tool, or a flathead screwdriver will work just fine. A 10 millimeter open-ended wrench, ratchet, or impact gun. So with that said, let's get into it. All right, so the first step in the removal of your factory exhaust is to head towards the front of it, just in front of this large factory mid-muffler. There's 2 clamps holding on your system. Grab a 15 millimeter socket and loosen all 4 of the nuts holding on these clamps. Now we're moving on to the rear section of the exhaust. We're back by the subframe where you'll notice there's 2 brackets with rubber isolators holding on the rear section of your exhaust. There's 2 bolts that we're going to remove, so grab that 13 millimeter socket and let's get these removed. Next up is the bracket near your tip section. You'll notice this bracket also has a rubber isolator that holds onto your exhaust. And there's 2 bolts per bracket this time, so grab your 13 millimeter socket and your ratchet. Let's get this removed. Now you can see a little bit better what I'm talking about with this bracket here. We're gonna start with the bolt that's on the frame rail up top. Grab your 13 millimeter socket and a ratchet. Go ahead and get this removed. Next up is this bottom bolt right here. You may want an extension for this. Grab your 13 millimeter socket. Go ahead and get it removed. Now that we have the bolts on the passenger side removed, repeat that same process to remove them on the driver's side. Now, if your Mustang is equipped with the factory active exhaust, at this point you need to unplug the actuators. There's 1 on each side located just above the exhaust tips. To remove this factory connector, pull back on this white tab, press down, and pull back on the connector to release it. Now that we have this connector off, it's a little easier to see. This is the white tab that you'll pull back on to release it, and then you press down and you can disconnect the connector. Now we have to disconnect the wiring harness from 2 pop clips that are right here on the actuator and on the hanger bracket. Grab a pop clip removal tool, or a flathead screwdriver will also work. Go ahead and work it in there and twist to pop it out. Same with the second one. And clear the wiring harness. Now that you have the actuator disconnected and the pop clips removed on the passenger side, repeat that process for your driver's side. Don't forget to press down on the white tab when you remove the connector. And remove both of the pop clips holding on the harness to the exhaust system. Now that we finished disconnecting the active system, we're jumping back into the stock removal. What we're gonna do now is unhook the brackets from the subframe, so make sure this rear portion of your exhaust is supported, either by pole jacks, jack stands, or make a friend and have them lend you a hand. Push up on your exhaust system, press up on the bracket itself, and twist it to the side to unhook it. Now that the system's disconnected, go ahead and wiggle as you pull back to completely release it. All right, now that our stock system is out of the way, let's get to the good part. But before we get to the good part, we need to remove these hangers and transfer them over to the new system. Pull on them and wiggle to remove them. And we'll get them transferred over. Repeat that for the rear hangers. We're also going to remove the actuator as well if your car is equipped. Grab a 10mm socket. Remove each of these nuts. And remove the actuator itself. Repeat that on the other side. Now it's time for the good part. Grab your H-pipe and let's get this done. Now we can get the H-pipe installed. Put the tapered end into the 2 factory clamps. Wiggle it in place until it's fully seated. If you like, you can also support this end with a jack or pole jack, just to support it until we get the mid-pipes installed. And don't forget to slide your clamps on now, 1 on each side of the H-pipe. Next up are the mid-pipes, and we're gonna start on the driver's side. Make sure your mid-pipe is fully seated over the H-pipe. Grab your factory hanger bracket, slide it over top of the hanger on the exhaust. Then push it up to hook it into the subframe. Repeat that process with your passenger side mid-pipe. The H-pipe and mid-pipes are installed. Now it's time to bring up the rear. As I said before, we're installing the Touring Edition today, but if you chose the Track Edition, your rear section will look like this. Either way, the install procedure is exactly the same. Make sure you slide your clamp over top of the mid-pipe before you install your rear section. Then you can install the factory hanger bracket over top of the hanger. There's a tab on top of this bracket. Go up to the frame and hook it in place. Just like that. Now that we have the driver's side installed, repeat that for the passenger side rear section. Now that our exhaust is loosely in place, we need to reinstall the hardware that holds on the brackets. We're gonna grab our 2 factory 13mm and get them reinstalled in the 2 brackets going to the subframe. Now with your 13mm socket, go ahead and tighten these down. Make sure they're sitting in place properly. Now you can reinstall the hardware in the rear hanger brackets as well. A little trick for this bottom one is to use a socket as well as the extension to get it started. Go ahead and thread that second one in as well. Grab a 13mm socket and a ratchet. Go ahead and tighten that down. And a 13mm socket with an extension to tighten down this bottom one as well. Now repeat that on the other side. Now that the brackets are secured, we're gonna snug down each clamp, starting at the H-pipe and working our way backwards. Don't fully tighten them at this time because we are gonna fit the tips and then tighten everything down at the end. Now that our exhaust is snugged down, we can align our tips. We're gonna start by sliding the clamp over top of the pipe section, but before we do that, just a dab of anti-seize right on the threads near the edge. Then go ahead and slide it in place. Grab your tip and slide it onto the pipe. Now these are slip fit for a reason. They're so that you can adjust them exactly where you want them, in or out, in relation to your valence. Repeat that for your second clamp. Slide it on. Slide your second tip on as well. Now we're gonna try to offset this similar to factory. You can adjust these however you like. Once you're happy with where your tips are sitting, we can go ahead and tighten them down. Align your clamps. Grab a 13mm socket and go ahead and tighten it. We recommend using hand tools for this so you don't over tighten these clamps on your tips. Now that you have all of your tips installed, take a second look at your system and make any adjustments that you need at this point. Once you've done that, we can go ahead and tighten down all of the clamps. As you're tightening down your clamps, make sure the opening of the clamp is not over one of the slots in the pipe, and make sure the clamp is hanging a 1/16 of an inch over the inlet of the pipe to ensure maximum clamping force. If your Mustang is equipped with the factory active exhaust, there's one more step before the install is complete. We have this bracket here designed to hold the factory actuators. So grab these actuators that we removed from the stock system and go ahead and get it lined up in this bracket. Now, as you can see, there's only one way for these to go in. So go ahead and get it lined up with all three openings. Grab your hardware and let's get it installed. This last one is a little bit difficult, so you might want to tip it on its side in order to line up the nut on the inside. Then go ahead and grab the 10mm open-ended wrench and a 10mm socket and get these tightened down. Once you're done with that tough one, these next two are a lot easier. Go ahead and tighten these down as well. Now repeat that for the other actuator. Now we can get this installed. Now to bolt up that bracket, we need to remove these two 10mm nuts underneath the spare tire. Grab a 10mm socket, go ahead and get these removed. Grab your bracket, slide it underneath this hose, and get it lined up over both of those threaded posts. Go ahead and center it as best you can and reinstall the factory nuts. Grab that 10mm socket and tighten it back down. Now that that bracket is in place, go ahead and run the wiring harnesses to each actuator, plug it in, and press down that white tab to lock it in place. And there you have it, a simple bolt-up procedure and you're ready to rip. For more details, dyno data, and to grab one for yourself, head to awemustang.com. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Any questions, drop them in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on what's next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.